Rising shifts in temperatures and weather patterns in recent times have become an increasing concern around the world. The potential future effects of global climate, which we currently are experiencing, with wildfires, longer periods of drought in some regions, and an increase in the duration and intensity of tropical storms.
Africa, despite its low contribution to greenhouse gas emissions, remains the most vulnerable continent with climate scenarios of above 1.5 degrees Celsius. Earlier in the year, climate change amped up the rains that pounded southeastern Africa and killed hundreds of people. For weeks now, wildfires have continued to devour forests in Morocco, an occurrence which scientists have tied to climate change. The effects of climate change are far reaching and gradually sweeping across the continent. Joining us now to discuss more on this is Temilade Salami, Executive Director, Eco Champions, and also a member of UNESCO SDG 4 Youth Network. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What are some of the challenges Africa is facing in the areas of climate change?
Some of the challenges we currently have droughts in some parts of Africa. We have increased flooding, just like we've seen in Uganda currently. We also have increased rise in temperature. We have sea level rise. We have severe storms. And some of these issues result in displacements, hunger, forced migration, and also different health challenges that people in Africa actually face. Basically, those are the major challenges that we face in Africa when it comes to climate change.
Okay, when we talk about the issues that we face in Africa, let's talk about the fact that we also have to bear the brunt when it comes to the effect of climate change, unfortunately. And one thing we've always talked about on the show is asking the question, is it too late? Is there anything that we could have done or anything that we can do now that would affect the change, really?
I like to say that it's not too late, although we're currently at a point where we need to act as soon as we can. But there's no, there's no point to say there's nothing we can do at this point. It's really in our hands to move forward and also make sure that we have our climate action plans intact and also implementing some of those actions. One thing about, climate change is that the fact that it is happening in Africa doesn't mean that Africa is the largest contributor to climate change. And that is just the sad reality where we have, subcontinents, some parts of the world bearing the brunt more than the people who are actually contributing more to these problems. But it's not too late to turn back the hands of time on some of our greenhouse gas emissions, some of our anthropogenic causes for climate change.
Well, sadly, of course, these are very important conversations, and I think, everyone needs to know whether, it's, this is going to be the new normal. But let's also get to clarify the difference between weather changes and climate change, as well as global warming and climate change. What can you say is the difference for those who are completely confused?
Just for the sake of the viewers, I'm going to put it in a layman's term. Weather is simply, short atmospheric condition over a period of time. We have, in Nigeria, for example, we have the dry season, we have the wet season. We know when to expect rain. We know when it's supposed to be sunny. And in some parts of Africa also, we have some of these seasons from East Africa to West Africa to North Africa. And it's just short term. And for climate change is a weather, in a specific region over a long period of time. So you probably expect rain during August in Nigeria, and you expect this to be over, the rainy season to be over at a particular time. But due to climate change, you have it lingering for so long. So it's literally the time frame. Weather is really short, and then climate change is, for a long period of time.
Let's talk about the causes of climate change. There have been several speculations, of course. There are conspiracy theorists who do not believe in climate change, but a lot of the conversations have been that humans are largely responsible for climate change, as occurred or started since the 1950s. What are the causes of climate change, and in what way are we, if you agree, are we responsible for climate change?
When we talk about climate change, even if countries are experiencing increased flooding, they're experiencing high rate of drought. There's still people who would tell you to your face that climate change is not real. And I'm really glad that we're moving from that, region where everyone thought that, we're just talking about this thing and we're just out of our mind, literally. But it's glaring, it's right in our faces. People are experiencing it, they're being displaced. And, I like to say that climate change has increased due to different human effects. We have anthropogenic causes of climate change. Between the 90s and now, we've had, industrial revolution where we've had more industrial emissions. We've had, fossil fuel activities. We've also had deforestation. We've had urbanization, and all of these activities contribute to climate change because we try to use resources. We use up resources of the earth without thinking of how to sustainably replace them or even think about the plans of, our sustainability plan in general. So it's very obvious that it's been exacerbated by human activities, of course, from greenhouse gas emission to deforestation and industrial emissions. It's very glaring that, it has been exacerbated by, human activities.
All right. Quickly, let's also quickly, get you to speak about the actions that African governments and businesses can take, and maybe also on an individual level, that might help tackle the effects of climate change if it's not late.
I think I'll take it from individual level, and I like to be very realistic. We can tell everyone to use single-use cups. We can tell everyone to not dispose their waste in a particular manner, but the bulk of the work really, really lies in the hands of the government. And I also like to say that the government is made up of people and systems are made up of people. So it still really boils down to individuals in the end. But one of the things I would say as individual is to stay in the know what is going on. Don't be too blind to, the recent happenings that are going on with climate change, because it is real, it is in our faces. Ask questions, demand, answers from your leaders. Your political leaders, do they have environmental agendas in their, so-called 5-point agendas? That is also very important. We have some countries in Africa that, environmental sustainability comes top 5 for them during, political campaigns. But in some parts of the world, in Africa, for example, in Nigeria, we don't have things like that. So it's important that we start demanding, such commitment from our leaders. That's on individual level. And for businesses, one of the things I would say is that, have a sustainability plan, raise awareness, train your staff, ask questions, be in tune with the recent policies, support CSOs. This is very important because there are many civil society organizations working in this space that need your support. Also, I will touch on, CSRs that a lot of businesses and organizations do. We also need to rethink the way we do our CSRs and make them more impactful and probably more environmentally inclined. We have some businesses who are already doing that. And we hope to see more businesses and organizations who are doing that or who are going to be doing that also. The other thing I would say about businesses is that we need to start thinking of how to transition. So, from using renewables from, fuel that would affect the environment. Are there ways we are planning to properly transition from such, energy use? So that's also very important, investing in renewable energy. I know the current landscape we have, the economy we have in Africa, does not really fully support the use of renewables, but it is very possible, and it saves you cost, it saves you time, and it also saves you energy, and everyone is happy. The planet is also good in return. What I would say for government is that we need to start thinking, away from fossil fuel, especially for countries that are heavily relied, on fossil fuel. We need to start thinking about the other part of our economy. Because I know, for example, in Nigeria, we heavily rely on our oil for revenue. Is there a way we can focus and invest in other parts of the economy, like small, medium enterprises, invest in businesses, invest in education, so that this other part of the economy can also bring in revenue and we can have, low reliance on some of the forms of energy that people are already moving away from?
Absolutely.
Because, that's very important. And
there's so much that we can do, and there's so much that needs to be done. We certainly love to have you again, especially when we're looking at conversations about plastic pollution, fossil fuels. We'd love to delve in deeper, but thank you so much for your time this morning, Temilade Salami, and we look forward to having you again. All the best with the work that you do.
Thank you.